You are a very useless man. Is this what your mates give their wives for a whole month? You're such a disgrace.
Years ago, when Caroline got married to Frank, life was beautiful. Frank worked as an accountant in a top audit firm, and he earned more than enough to take care of his family. Their wedding was fully sponsored by him, 100%. The best hall in town was used for the reception. Guests ate to their satisfaction, and the souvenirs remained the talk of the town for months. Their honeymoon was spent overseas. Caroline went on a shopping spree, and they visited 3 different countries within 3 weeks. She bought plenty of gifts for her parents, and Frank didn't mind. Money was never a problem. They loved each other deeply, or so it seemed. After the honeymoon, they returned home, and everything was going well. Within 3 months of marriage, Caroline got pregnant. The pregnancy came with its challenges, but Frank stood by her through it all. He hired 2 maids to take care of her and made sure she lacked nothing. Every craving was satisfied, and she was registered at the best hospital in town for her antenatal care. The day of delivery came. It was a Saturday. Frank was at home when she was rushed to the hospital, where she gave birth to a beautiful baby girl. When the child turned 2, she was enrolled in one of the best schools in town. Around the same time, Frank opened a large supermarket for Caroline. Caroline's business flourished. Despite that, Frank never neglected his responsibilities at home. In fact, he did even more to ensure his family lived comfortably. But life took an unexpected turn. A fraud case broke out in the audit firm where Frank worked. Although he knew nothing about it, he was part of the accounting team and was arrested along with others. No one was willing to listen to his explanation, no matter how hard he tried. He spent 3 months in prison before he was finally granted bail. But by then, he had already been dismissed from his job. That was when his life took a drastic turn. While he was in prison, a large portion of his savings had been spent on hiring a good lawyer and trying to secure his release. By the time he got out, he had little to nothing left, and no job to return to. Caroline was supportive when Frank returned from prison, but not for long. Frank couldn't rest. He immediately started applying for jobs, moving from one interview to another, but nothing came through. Everywhere he went, the same question followed him. What happened at your former workplace? It was a question he struggled to explain, and one that kept closing doors against him. After 2 months, Caroline changed drastically. Even though her business was still booming, she became a different person at home. She insulted and disrespected Frank at every opportunity, calling him names no man should ever hear. To an outsider, it would seem like Frank had always been a terrible husband. But through it all, Frank remained calm. He kept hoping things would get better, hoping he would find a good job again, hoping help would come from somewhere. But none came. After a year of endless job searches, reality hit him. Help was not coming. At home, the tension only grew worse. Caroline's frustration had doubled, and the house no longer felt like home. Eventually, Frank settled for a menial job that paid almost nothing. The salary was small, painfully small. But that wasn't what mattered to him. The job gave him something he desperately needed: peace. For a few hours each day, he could escape the insults and tension at home. Despite everything, he still shared the little he earned with Caroline.
You are a very useless man. Is this what your mates give their wives for a whole month? You're such a disgrace.
But nothing was ever enough for her. Life went on like this, until one day, after 2 years of struggle, Caroline made a decision. She wanted a divorce. It came as a shock to Frank. He tried to talk to her, to make her see reason. But this time, her mind was made up. Nothing, and no one, could change it. A year later, the divorce was finalized. Custody of their daughter was granted to Caroline. Frank left the house. Then he left the state entirely, determined to start life afresh. With nothing but hope, he kept going, praying that life would smile on him again. After 6 months of struggle, he received a call. It was from his former workplace. They said his presence was urgently needed. Confused and anxious, Frank traveled down. When he arrived, he was welcomed warmly, something he didn't expect. As he walked into the boardroom, He saw almost all the firm's shareholders seated. His heart began to race. He feared the worst, thinking another problem had surfaced, but instead, they all smiled at him. The truth revealed. After he settled in, they shared the news. One of the team members had finally confessed. Frank had known nothing about the fraud. He was innocent all along. They apologized sincerely. Then they made him an offer. If you're willing to return, we want you back, and all your unpaid salaries for the past 3 years will be paid in full. Frank accepted their apology and returned to work. This time his comeback was loud. He was given a brand new luxury car and a duplex as part of his compensation. After a long time, Frank could finally breathe again. But this time, he was wiser. He became more strategic, investing his money carefully and making plans to start his own company. Despite everything, his heart never left his daughter. He began sending monthly support through Caroline, making sure his child lacked nothing. Not long after, the news reached Caroline. Frank had been cleared of all allegations. He was innocent all along and had been reinstated at his job. Suddenly, everything changed. She started reaching out, calling, pleading, sending friends and family members to beg on her behalf. But Frank had made up his mind. His response was always the same. "I've moved on. She should do the same."
If you were Frank, what would you do? Would you take her back or move on for good? Let's talk in the comments.